Hello and welcome to our 14th session, and in this session we are going to build the thighs and legs of our robot. So to begin with, I am just going to now open 313 robot design stage 2.blend, and first I will come over here, file, save as, and I will name this as 3_14 robot design stage 3, and I will click save to save it. Now I will start by first selecting the hips. I will zoom it with shift middle click. I will move this, and if I press tab and if I see this, actually if I press 3 and come into the side view, press Z and come into wireframe, you can now see my thigh starts with a ring running around this hip, and I want to first create this ring. So to create this, I will shift middle click, turn this, and in Z I will come to solid mode, alt click and select this loop. I am in vertex selection mode. Then I will shift alt and select this loop. So selecting these two loops, I will press shift D, I make a copy, right click to place it at the same position, then press P and choose separate selection, then press tab, and if you come over here you have one hip 001. Select this and name this as thighs. I will press tab, I will press A to select both these rings, come to edge and choose bridge edge loops. So I got this edge loop. Now I will press 3 and come into the side view, and then I will press Z and come into wireframe mode, and now here you have this structure, and to create this leg, I am going to come into face selection mode, and I am going to select this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 faces, and then I will press E and I will extrude it. Then I will press Z and come into solid state view, and if I press 1, I got an extrusion like this. Then I will press scale S, Z 0. And I will press enter. Then I will press G and move it over to a point here. So somewhere at this point where this ring starts. So I will just bring it over somewhere here at this point, and then I will press SX and I am going to scale it to match this scale. If required, G and X, and I will move it and place it like this. So I have got this structure, and now the next thing is I will press 3 and come into the side view, and I am now going to press S and Y and I will scale it like this. If required, zoom it, press G, move it and place it here to match this, and again press S, Y, and I will slightly scale and adjust its width exactly to this size, and G, Y, and I will slightly move it like this. So now I have this structure placed over here, and I will press 7, Control 7, and you can see now these two are not correctly aligned. See, this line is longer than this. So for this, I will first come into this edge selection mode, and I will select this edge, and then I will press scale Y, and I am going to slightly scale it down so that these two lines are straight. To make it exactly straight, what we can do is come into vertex selection mode, select this and this vertex, press SY 0 and press enter, and this repeat it to all the vertex, SY 0, press enter, then select this and this, press SY 0, and similarly this and this, SY 0, then select this and this, SY 0, then similarly here this and this, press SY 0 and enter, and here also I forgot to press enter, I think SY 0, enter, and like this I am going to select two vertices, press SY0, enter. Select these two vertices, press SY0 and enter, and similarly these two vertices and press SY0 and press enter. So now these two are straightly aligned. Then I will press 3 and come into the side view. Now here, if required, I will press Z and come into wireframe mode, and then I will select every point here one by one. See that in wireframe toggle X-ray is on. Then I will select the first one, then I will press G and I will move it and place it here. Similarly, I will select this point and place it somewhere here. I will select this, move it here, 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 select it, move it here, select this and move it here. So I approximately create this curvature over here. So once I have created this curvature, then I will select last two vertices over here. I will turn and see that both are selected. Then I will press 3 and come into right view, and now I will press E and then I am going to create an extrusion like this to create this circle. See, as I move this, I am creating this circle like this. With shift middle mouse I will move it up, I will press E and I will move it this all around like this, and as I move this I am creating this circle. So I will come here, I will move it here, I will come till here, and at this point now I will select 1, 2, 3 and 4, these 4 vertices, and press F. I will alt click and select ring like this, then with shift alt I will select this, and with this selection I will right click and in loop tools choose circle. Now similarly on the other side, alt click and select this, with shift alt select this, right click and choose loop tools circle. So both the sides I have made this circle. Press 1 and come into the side view and see that this is correctly aligned. If required, I will select all these vertices, press G, slightly move it like this to align it to this level here, and I will also press S and scale it down a little like this, press G, Z and move it so that it fits this dimension, then press S, X and slightly move it like this, and GX and move it like this, so that this sits exactly to this size. Then I will come over here and I will press Z and come into solid state now. I will select one set of vertices here. With alt click I select this edge loop, with shift alt I select this edge loop. Now I will press 3 and come into the side view, and now here this is not correctly aligned. I have to slightly align it correctly. So for this I will turn this, press alt shift and select this, with shift alt select, I will select this loop and then press 3 and come into the side view, and if required now I will just scale it a little like this, press G and move it, press S, scale it, press G and move it and place it exactly like this, in this way, press G and move it down, and after this I will press I will now alt A and deselect everything, and with alt click I will click on this loop, with shift alt I will click on this loop. I will now press E and S and I will just scale it down like this. Now if required I will come into the right view, then scale this up and see that this fits into this. Okay, and similarly now I will also select, press alt and select backside loop here. With Shift Alt I will select the top loop. See, I have selected this loop, and this loop also I will press now 3 and come into the front view, and now ES, and I am going to scale it down to the same size as this. See, it is scaled to the same size. Then I will just turn it a little, and with Alt click I will select, Alt Shift click I will select this loop. I will come into the edge and choose bridge edge loop, and if I press tab now, see, now we have got this structure. Now only thing is, this shape I have to fine tune it, and I have to make it a curve. If I press 3 and see it here, if I will press Z and come into wireframe, and you can see here this is a curve. I will select this, press tab, press Ctrl R, and I am going to add 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 cuts like this. Then I will click once and I will right click so that it is placed like this. Then I will come into edge selection mode, and I am going to first select this center loop like this. Then I will come into proportional editing and I will enable smooth here. Now I will press S, and along the y axis I am going to scale this like this, and I am going to adjust it in this way. So only this area I will scale it. See that it does not affect the bottom ring. I will just scale this area like this. Then I will disable this proportional editing. Then I will turn here and I will select this loop, press 3 and come into side view, and here also SY, and I will slightly scale it down to fit this dimension like this. Then I will turn and I will alt click and select the top loop, come to press 3 and come to right view S, and along the y axis I will scale it down like this. Then I will also alt click and select the bottom loop here. Then I will press SY and I am going to scale it so that it fits the backside drawing. Alt click and select this loop, press S and Y and scale it down like this. Alt and select this loop, S and Y and scale it down like this. So this line and this line should match. So now if I press tab and if I press Z and come into solid view, so now you are seeing this structure. Now similarly I will press 1, and here also I will again press Z and come into wireframe view, and I am going to reshape this. So first I am going to press tab, come into edit mode, I will select this loop, press 1 and I will scale X, and I am going to scale it down a little like this. Then I am going to select the next loop here, this one, press 1 and I am going to scale it along the X axis like this. I will select this loop and I will press S and I will X, I will press SX and I will slightly scale it like this. Then alt click and select this loop SX, and I am going to scale it down like this. If required GX, and I will slightly move it. Then select this loop SX and I am going to scale it like this. Select this loop SX and I am going to slightly scale it, and if read GX and I will slightly move it like this. And now I have got this structure ready. So if I press Z and come into solid state, and if I see this, so I have got this leg structure now ready. And now finally I will press tab and I will select 1 with shift press 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I will select these loops that we created just now, and then I will right click and choose smooth vertices, and I will set the repeat to around 2 or even 3, and if I press tab, so you have this as a smooth structure, and we now have our thighs ready. So I will press 1 and we have this thigh ready, and I am going to go into file and save this. Let us start creating this leg. So if I press Z and come into wireframe mode, you can now see inside the leg you have a projection, cylinder type projection. So for this I will I am in the object mode now, and in the object mode I will press Shift A, and in the mesh I am going to now add a cylinder. I will set the number of vertices here to around 24 and leave it at 1 meter, and then press tab and enter the edit mode, then press scale and scale this, press R and along the y axis rotate it by 90 degree, then I will press G and move it over here. If required, scale this, then press S and scale this down, zoom it here with middle mouse, move here, press G and place it somewhere here like this, scale this, then scale it along the x axis like this. If required, come into the side view, right view by pressing 3. Now press G, Y and move it and bring it over here like this. Press S and I will scale this, and I will press G and place it in the center. Again slightly scale this and see that it fits exactly inside this like this. See, I get this fitting like this. Then press 1 and come into the front view, SX, and scale this a little like this. Now here the edges are not straight, I want this curved surface. So for this I will come into edge mode, and then I will alt click and select this edge. With Shift Alt I will select this edge. I will select both the edges like this. Then I have got this selection. Then I will press Ctrl B and I am going to bevel this, and I will roll the mouse and increase the number of levels. Press Z and come into solid state, and now you can see that I have this structure. Only thing is I will press tab, I will press A to select everything, press 1 and I will scale this along the x axis a little so that it sits exactly like this. Okay. Now I am going to name this as knee. Later on, now with this selected, I will now press 1 and we have to add the same type of cylinder one here. So for that I will select this, and I am in the object mode. I have selected the knee. I will press Shift D and duplicate it, right click and place it there only, and then press tab, come into edit mode, and now press G and move it and place it somewhere here like this. Then press SX and you just scale it down a little like this. Press 3 and come into the side view, and I am now going to press G and move it here. Press X and scale it like this. Press G and move it down and place it like this. Then press 1 and you can see here, and if required I can just select these 3 vertices. I will now press Z and come into wireframe mode, toggle X-ray is on. I will select this, press SX and I will slightly scale it up like this. Press G and along the X axis I will move it back here to this position. Similarly, I will select this, press S and I will slightly scale it more like this. Then I will press GX, move it back, and I will place it over here. And if I press tab, press Z and come into solid state view. So now I have this here, and I am now going to call this knee one, and I am going to call this as the ankle. Now after this I will press 3 and come into the side view, and we are now going to create this foot. So to create this foot, I will again press Shift A, and in the mesh I am going to add an UV sphere, and I will press Z and come into wireframe mode, and I am just going to press tab and come into edit mode, press S and scale it down like this. And one thing is, I will now rotate this along the x axis by 90 degree and also rotate it along the z axis by 90 degree, so that I get this view. I will press G and I will move it like this. All this I am doing it in the edit mode, and if required I will zoom this. I will come into vertex selection mode, and I am going to now select all the vertices at the bottom like this. So, I will make a selection of all the vertices here, that is below this line. Then I will press X and I will delete the vertices. Now, I will press A to select everything, and then I am now going to scale this out a little to match the height like this, and if required actually I have to press G, Z, move it and align it to this point. I will press S and scale it down a little, G, Z, move it down and slightly scale it. I will adjust this, but only thing is this shape I will move it till here. This shape is different. To achieve this shape, I will come into edge selection mode. With Alt, I will select the last edge here. I will come into proportional editing, and then I will enable sharp. Then press S, and I am going to now scale it till here, and I will increase this influence area like this, so that I get this shape. So, now you can see this. If required, I will press shift and precisely scale it, and if required I will reduce this like this. I will press A to select everything, G, Y and move it and align it exactly like this to the foot here. Then press 1 and come into the front view, and here also I will press G, X, move it, and I am going to place it here, and I will disable proportional editing, and then I will press SX and I will slightly scale it. Say I will scale it to fit this dimension, then GX, move it and place it here. Okay, this is fine. Now, only thing is, now I will alt click and select the bottom loop. I will press E and I will extrude it down like this. Then I will press S and I will scale it down like this. Then I will press 3 and come into the side view, and here I will press SY and I will slightly scale it like this, so that it matches this dimension. Now, I will press tab, press Z and come into solid state, and now you can see we have our leg structure ready. If I press 1 and come here, and if I press Z and come into wireframe mode, you can now see here you have a kind of a projection here. You can see this projection, and to get this projection I will press Z and come into solid state, and here temporarily I will select this object, press H and I am going to hide it. Then I will select this, press tab to enter into edit mode, and in this case I will come into face selection mode and I will select this and this. I will select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 faces like this, and similarly on the other side also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will select the other 3 here, 7, 8, 9. I select this 9 faces. Then I will press E and I will slightly extrude it like this. I create a slight extrusion like this. Then I will press 3 and here I will press scale and I will slightly scale it down along the Y axis like this. So, now if I press tab, I have got this structure. Now, only thing is our leg is present only on the left hand side. So, to duplicate it, just like last time, I will press Alt H to unhide everything. I will select knee. I will come to add modifier and I will add mirror. I will select ankle and I am going to add the modifier mirror. I will also select this, and here instead of sphere I am going to call this as foot, and even for this in the modifier I am going to add the mirror modifier. And now I will press 3 and come into the side view, and again I will press Z and come into wireframe mode. And now the next part that we are going to create is this leg part. So to create this leg part, see, you have a curvature here, and to create this perfect curvature, now we are going to start by adding a circle. So I will press Shift A, and in the mesh I am going to add a circle. Only thing is I will increase the number of vertices from 32 to 48, and then press Tab and come into the edit mode. I will type RY90 and I will rotate it, and then I am in the edit mode and I will come into the vertex selection mode, and I am now going to scale this down like this. Then I will press I will move down here, I will scale it down further like this. I will press G and move it here, and I will try to match this to this circle like this. I will zoom it, I will press G, and I will just adjust this curvature. So I will slightly have to scale it more, move it, and okay. So this curvature appears to be better. Slight scale, then press G and move it, and see that you have this curvature here. You can see this curvature. Now here I will select this vertex, and with Control I will select vertices till here. Now I will press Control I to select all other things, and press X, and I will delete all the vertices. So now if I press A and select it, I have only the vertices. I will press E and I will extrude it like this along the Z axis, and once this extrusion is done, I want this curvature to be reversed here. So to reverse it, I will just press S, Z, and I will type -1, and when I press -1 and enter, you have this curvature reversed. I will press S and I will scale it down. I will press G and move it here. I will scale it up a little and press G and move it here, and again press S, and I will just adjust this scale so that it sits exactly on this circle. So if required, I will zoom it, I will press G, move it, and see that this is exactly placed over this curvature. Okay, I will readjust it, and this is fine now. So once this is adjusted, I will press 1 and come into the front view. I will press A to select everything, and GX I will move it, and I will bring it say for example somewhere here to this point, and then I will draw a box and select all the vertices at the bottom, and I will press GX and move it to the side like this. A to select everything, then I will press E and I am going to extrude it along the X axis till here. Then I will add a box and select all the vertices at the bottom, then GX, and I am going to move it till here. If I press Z and if I come into solid state mode, and if you see this, now approximately we have already got our leg shape. If I press 3 and come into the side view, and if I again press Z and come into wireframe mode, you can see you have this as a curvature. We have to create this curvature, and to create it, select this, press tab, press Ctrl R, and I will add one loop cut. I will right click and place it here, and then I will press S, and I will slightly scale it up like this, and I will press G and I will move it along the Y axis, G, Y, and I will move it up like this. If required, I will scale this a little more like this, and I will also press 1 and come into the front view, and here also I will press SX and I will slightly scale it so that it matches this structure. Here again I will press 3 and come into the side view. I will press Ctrl R and I will add 2 loops as of now. I will click once, right click to place it here, and then I will alt click and select this edge, and then I will just scale it a little. It's almost perfect, so I will slightly scale it, then alt click this and I will slightly scale it down, or I will scale it a little, move GY slightly like this, slightly I will move it like this. I will slightly scale it down a little more like this. Then I will press 1 and come into the front view, then I will scale it along the X like this, GX, and I will move it like this. I will select the other loop here, press scale, and I will scale it a little more along the X axis like this. And now again I will press 3 and come into the side view, and I will press Ctrl R and I will add 2 loops to the bottom. Click once, right click, and then I will press S and I will slightly scale it up like this, G, Y, and I will slightly move it to the side like this. Then I will press 1, and here also I will press S and I will just scale it up a little like this and press GX and slightly move it like this. So now if I press tab, press Z and come into solid state mode, and if we see this, we are already getting a structure like this. I will press 3 and come into the side view, and if you see here, this structure has a little more detail like this. You have a projection here and here. To add this projection, I will select this and I will press 1 and come into the front view, and now I will press tab and then press Ctrl R, and I will add 2 loops like this. Click, right click, and I have added these 2 loops. And after this, next if I move over here, I want to match this with the bottom structure. So I will press Alt and I will select this entire loop here. Then I will come to proportional editing and I will enable sharp, and then I will press 3 and come into the side view, and then I will press G, and with this proportional editing I will slightly move it down and see that this aligns perfectly with this. See, this should align. If required, GZ, and I will move it a little down like this, so that it is going to sit on this foot correctly. So same thing, I will also alt click this loop and I will press GZ and move it down and make it sit exactly over this foot like this. So if I press tab now, okay, this is almost sitting perfectly on my foot. Now I will select thighs and I will press H to hide it. I will select this, press H to hide it. I will select this, press tab, and here I am now going to come into face selection mode. Select this face with Control select till here, this entire face. I will now disable proportional editing. Then I will press E and I am going to extrude it a little like this. After this, I will press SZ -1, and then I will press 3 and come into the side view, and then I will press GZ and I will move it down like this a little, and if required I will move along the G axis something like this. So I got this kind of structure here. So if I press tab, you can now see we have a structure like this. After adding this, I will select this, I will come into add modifier and I am going to add a mirror modifier, and then press Alt H to unhide everything. So now if you see, if I press 1 and come into the front view, and I will come here and I am going to name this circle as KLF cough, and then I will hide this reference images, and so our model, basic model, is now ready. So now I will go to file and I am going to save this. In our next session, we are going to start smoothing the robot, and we are going to add much more details.